So it's good to hear everybody talking. So I'm glad you're engaging the conversation. And so here's a thought for us. We know that this world can be wearying and tiring, challenging. There are struggles. There are all kinds of stuff. But here's a truth that we all need to come to grips with, because if there's two things that I hear people talk about more than anything else in life when you run into them, one is they're busy, and it's not just busy, it's crazy busy. I don't know anybody that ever tells me that, oh, this week was pretty calm and cool and sedated and just got it all done. I had extra time to just do whatever. It's always, oh man, it's been busy. It's been crazy busy. Didn't you tell me that last week? Oh yeah, last week was crazy, but this week's even crazier busy. But next week I think will be okay. But no, if I see you next week, you're going to tell me the same thing. Oh, this week's been crazy busy too. So it's busy, and the other is just tired. Everybody's tired, okay? And we're physically tired, we're emotionally, mentally tired, but even the deepest part of it, we're spiritually tired. We have nothing to contribute to the most important part of who we are. Okay, we talked about that last week. We have physical bodies, and we are whole beings, right? I mean, we're body, soul, and spirit. You know, we're the outer man, and then there's the inner man. Okay, and so we have all that, but we can tend to neglect the most important part about us, and that's the soul. And what I like about this psalm is it's very much focused on the soul. Okay, and here's the thought. Here's the truth. In a busy world, in a tiring, wearying world, and we're all familiar with what that is. Okay, and you can put a blank and you can fill it with your own stuff, whatever it is that that makes you busy and tired. But here's a thought. Here's a truth. We can have rest in this weary world. And I think we've about decided that we cannot. Maybe as Americans, I don't know. Maybe it's a Western thing. But friends that I have on the mission field will tell you that there are cultural differences, but no, we're all accustomed to our lives just feeling weary. If we don't cultivate and care for that inner being, that soul, okay, we're going to be living dead men and women walking on earth because we've neglected the most important part of us. But here's the truth. There is rest in this weary world. Okay, we know the world is bringing us stuff, okay, but there's rest. It's promised to us. Did you see it in this psalm? There's a promise of rest. There is a place of rest. Think of it this way. God, here's the thing I want you to understand as we look at the psalm for just a moment. God himself is our place of rest. You say, no, wait. Is God a place? He's a person. Hey, it's one and the same. God himself is our place of rest. Let's say it another way. God is a person of rest. Now, we just about don't believe that. If I come to God, he's going to stack on more on top of my already busy schedule, right? He's going to pour more onto it. It's like, if I think of I need to get away with God, I don't have time. He's taking more of my time. I don't have time for church or gathering with other people because I'm so busy. And I feel like if I come to God, if I go away and open up my Bible or something and just have some time for Him, it's like that's going to weary me more. That's a lie. That's exactly what the enemy of our soul wants us to believe, that God is not a place of rest. He's a place of weariness. He's a place of stacking the burdens. And yet we learned last week what? That His yoke is easy and His what? Burden is light. He says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. God Himself is a place of rest. For our soul working outward, not the well, let me just get a good night's sleep and get some physical rest. Let me eat a good meal. It'll replenish some of all those things are important and good, but they stop short of reaching the most important part, the soul. And God wants to work not from the outward in, but the inward out. So we neglect so often our souls. We'll pursue some things that we can get immediate results from. That'll give me physical rest. That'll give me emotional rest. But we don't realize that all those things are tethered to the most important part, and that is the soul. Now, how did you like Psalm 23? Did you see anything new in it? I love the question, who is the shepherd of my soul? Who shepherds my own soul, my heart? David, when he penned this psalm, why did he look up and say, oh my God, you are the shepherd. The Lord, you are my shepherd. It's like, what? You've chosen a lowly profession to characterize the greatness of our God, a shepherd. I mean, a shepherd was low end of the totem pole, okay, in terms of jobs. You want to be something else. You want to be a merchant. You want to be a doctor. You want to be something else, not a shepherd. Why does David do that? Is he trying to I don't know, demoralize God in any way? Obviously not. But why did he do that? Why did he choose a shepherd to describe the Lord? You know the answer. Because that was David's profession. He knew shepherding well. And in his relationship with God, one day as he's penning this psalm, it dawns on him, I'm just like these sheep I'm out here leading. I'm just like them. And in fact, all people, I think, are like them. And I'm shepherding these sheep. I'm caring for them. I'm protecting them. I'm doing all this stuff. Who's doing that for me? And then it just clicked. It just dawned. It's a very, very important question for us. Who shepherds my own soul? There's ways you can say it. The Lord is my shepherd. Or you can say, the Lord is my shepherd. Some people else have somebody else shepherding their hearts, their souls. But the Lord is my shepherd. If you were to take the psalm and structure it, there's two big points, I think. The first one is in the first three verses, and the second point is the remaining verses. So when he says, the Lord is my shepherd, there's just two big things that ought to just, capture what it means that he's our shepherd. The first one is this: the Lord is my shepherd, I shall, help me finish it, not want. In verse 4, he says, you should, it's as though you're restating it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not fear. Because the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. There is nothing that I'm going to want for. Some of our versions say it a little differently. How did the New Living say it? What were you going to say?
Mine's Christian Standard Bible. It says, I have all that I need.
I have all that I need. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. All that I need. Okay. So, because the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I have all that I need. He's provided it all. And the other is, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not fear what's coming in my life. So sometimes there's the one half of life that if I'm a willing sheep, so to speak, to allow the Lord to lead me in my life, He's going to lead me to, we said before, what? Green pastures, okay? He's going to lead me to that place. But sometimes life has a way of leading us to dark places, to valleys, right? Well, so on the one hand, when He's leading me, when He recognizes what I need rest. And so He leads me to a restful place. And in fact, some of your versions say that He leads me to pasture, to rest. Green pastures. Mine says that. To what? To rest in green pastures. That implication is there, that when He takes us to that place, that He's being our provider, and He's also recognizing that we need rest. Now, what kind of rest is He talking about, just so we're clear? We are talking about the soul, aren't we? Even though He's using eating, He's not talking about physical sustenance now. But He does provide that too, doesn't He? Our God provides our physical and our everything our physical needs. But He's talking here, He's using that figuratively to speak to the soul, to the spiritual nature in us that craves it, that we so quickly neglect it. I can take all my religious duties and do them as a duty, and they benefit me nothing. But if I can come to a place where I trust my shepherd to lead me into the place where I can go, wow, what are those fields of those fields of rest? What do they look like? Is that watching a bunch of movies? Is that getting extra sleep? How about it's resting in His presence? How about it's resting in through His Word? How about it's when He guides us to still waters? Maybe that's not drinking from the most pristine rivers or fountains, but it's maybe it's a place of prayer. Maybe it's a place where He replenishes our soul. What does it mean that He restoreth our soul? Restores it. He restores it how? What is He restoring? Here's what I wrote, and I don't know what you might have wrote, but for me, what does David mean when he says He restores my soul? I put, when we get depleted, He fills up. When I get weary, He strengthens. And again, I'm talking about the soul. Okay? When I get hurt, He heals. When I lose, He recovers. It's those sorts of things that He's restoring our soul, isn't He? Now, the reason I'm stressing these things so much right now is because when I come to the question, where am I right now? Am I at a place of rest and feel restored, or am I in need of restoration? And I as I assess my own personal life, and I think I reflect most people, okay? But when I look at my own personal life, it's not that I live in a place of always needing restoration, because I have a pretty good idea of what I need to do to follow the leading of my shepherd. And I know that if I will do that, he will take me to these places where he can restore my soul. So if I'm depleted for a week or a season or a few days, it's like I know how he brings me rest and restoration, okay? But I also know that I've gone through stuff over the course of the last few years that really just tore me down inside my soul, okay? And I'm like, man, I've wrestled with that. But I'm glad to say, that's staying right there, that I feel like that I am in need of more restoration, but I see God at work right now because I've been willing to say, okay, move over, flesh. I'm back in that yoke with Jesus. Where's he leading? Yes, shepherd, lead me to these places. And I have, this past week has been a really neat week. I think for Beth and I both. We've just been talking and praying and stuff like that. But just how the Lord restores the things in your life. And I'm even looking at these things as like a bunch of sinful stuff. I just look at it as life is hard and life is busy, and what have I allowed my heart and hand to do? Does that make sense? I'm sharing with myself, but I'm wanting us to think about where we are. And the key is I have to be willing to submit to the shepherd. I have to go to places. So I put down here, am I letting God lead and guide me to green pastures and still waters? My answer to that is, my answer is yes, I'm doing it. How am I doing it? I'm giving time and space for it. I'm not going to believe the lie that rest is not promised. I'm not going to believe the lie that my shepherd is going to burden me down with more. God's word doesn't say that. So I'm going to come to that place. I'm going to give him that time. For me, it's usually early morning, but it's throughout the day too. And I know everybody can't do that early in the morning. Find your time and space. Let your shepherd will lead you if you will let him. That's the thing. Every one of us. It's not just for a few. It's not for pastors. Okay? There's nothing in here says, well, a pastor is a shepherd. That's what the word means, a pastor. So I get to do a little shepherding, but I can't do a great job of shepherding my own soul. I need a shepherd over me. Now, as long as I'm submitting to the shepherd, then I can be a part of caring for my own soul too, as well, right? Okay, so I want to say one more thing, and then we're gonna close it up. The second part of this psalm is one that we only think are for funerals. And it's not speaking about funerals, period. It's applicable, but when I go through the valley of the shadow of death, right? You hear this at funerals, right? First of all, it doesn't say when I go through the valley of death, but when I go through a valley where there's a shadow of death, feels like death, because that's what darkness tends to convey, isn't it? That's what, when you're in a valley and you're going through it. And he says, even though. So normally he's saying, my shepherd leads me to green pastures. He leads me to still waters. Why still waters? Because still waters indicate that there's no predators around. Because when a wolf or whatever comes to the water side and starts drinking and splashing around a little bit, disturbs the water, and there's ripples. And the sheep, they're not that smart, but when there's still waters, the shepherd knows there's no predators around. This is a good time to drink. So there's protection. That's, he protects us, right? And so normally what we're going to have is, hey, I'm going to bed you down in green pastures. You're going to eat your fill. You're going to rest. You got to drink. All these things replenish our soul. We need it. We need time in prayer. We need time in worship. We need time in His Word. We need all of these things that restore and replenish our soul. And so we know that our shepherd normally leads us in that way, but sometimes life leads us through a valley. Anybody ever been through a valley? Anybody been through a valley that was particularly dark? Did it feel like it cast a shadow of death over, right? Okay. But what does he say? Even when I'm going through that, my shepherd has not abandoned me. He says, I will fear no evil. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not fear. Why? For thou art with me. My shepherd goes with me. I'm not going through that thing alone. It may feel like it in the moment. That's where our faith has to trust that He is indeed with us. And then he says, he's got these instruments. I love these instruments because we need them. Thy rod and thy staff too. Not only that you're with me, but Lord, shepherd, your rod and your staff are with you. What are those? Maybe you've heard this before somewhere, but the rod was a club-like device that the shepherd would use to fight off, again, predators. It is an attack. Here comes a bear, bong, hits him on the head with that thing, it runs off, But it was also used when the sheep would come in for the night, and the shepherds would do what they called rodding. To rod would be to tap as each sheep was walking into the place at night to sit down for rest. He would count them. 1, 2, he'd just touch them on the back as they're walking through. That experience was a comforting experience. Shepherds know this about sheep. If you skip them, they're anxious. I didn't get touched on the back when the sheep are going through. But it also helped the shepherd know all the sheep are accounted for. They're all here. Oh, wait a second, there's 2 missing. But it was the practice. So it could be used for protection. It could also be used as a counting mechanism, and it brought comfort. It's the way the shepherd touched the sheep. And then the staff was longer and had a crook in it, a hook or a crook in it, and it was often used. It could be used to fight off a predator that's just, you can't extend out far enough coming to one of the sheep, but it was most often used to bring a straying sheep back in or to guide them. So a sheep starts to just get off and he reaches out there with that hook and pulls them right back in. And that's what our shepherd does with us. We have a tendency to what? Stray. And our shepherd brings us back. There's more in this, but that's enough for today. Next week, we're going to take some time to look at what is a healthy soul and what is an unhealthy soul. And so we're talking about taking care of our soul. Our shepherd wants to care for our soul. He wants to lead us. He wants to shepherd us, right? So he cares for that most important part of who we are. We need to care for that too. But when we start talking about soul care, okay, we need to look and say, well, what does that look like? What does a healthy soul look like? Do I have a healthy soul? Do I have some unhealthy things going on in my inner man, in my soul? And what does healing look like? And so we're gonna get an opportunity to spend some time on that. So right here, this second side of your page, Psalms for the Soul. And there's one for 6 days. And I know that you may have some Bible reading plan or something that you do, but I want to encourage you to take some time this week, sometime quietly, just to help you if you want to get in the place where you're going, okay, I want my soul to be shepherded by the Lord. The Psalms are an incredible place to start. The Psalms are all about the soul, what the soul's going through. When the soul is alive and when the soul is struggling, when the soul feels lost, when the soul feels found, Psalms are incredible. But this will help you, I think, as you're trying to reestablish what he's restoring to maybe your own soul. And and I know that's not very many lines. If you journal or do anything else like that, you can do your own thing, but at least that gives you something if you have something that the Lord shows you from that psalm. And so